All right, welcome back, True Seeker. John Mendoza, regular in the chat. He asked if we could do a call-in show on relationships, and I said we certainly could. So here we are. It is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024, and based on the way John asked the question, I think he is under the impression that I met Sweet Lady after I became aware of the knowledge that I talk about so often on this channel. I've known Sweet Lady for longer than I've been aware of the knowledge. And again, I've always said that I think she's part of the reason I found the knowledge, because the one thing that we weren't on the same page on when we met was religion. I shouldn't say, I was raised in the church. I was raised Lutheran. She was raised Baptist, and her one apprehension about me when we first started dating was that I didn't identify as Christian anymore. She said she'd only ever dated Christian men. Her family's very Christian. She's got a brother that's a minister. And she asked if I would start reading the Bible, and I said, I will try reading the Bible again. I hadn't read it since I left confirmation class as a 12-year-old. But I was glad, in a way, that I started reading the Bible again, because it brought me back to the same question I had when I was a child. What's with all the numbers in the Bible? And asking that question ended up leading me to what I figured out that I now teach about. But that's not really what this video is about. John is someone, like a lot of people, who's into what's going on in the world. He's a truth seeker, if you will, and oftentimes, as we know, when you become a truth seeker, it can be damaging, unfortunately, to all of your relationships, not just significant other, not just your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your spouse, but also with your core group of friends, even your family. So I think what John's really hoping to hear is advice on how to find a significant other in a world where a lot of people don't care about things truth related, if you will. And my advice would be to put yourself out there as much as possible, be as honest as possible, and even though it is going to make it more difficult to probably find yourself on the same page with someone, when you do find yourself on the same page, it's going to be all the more rewarding. So it's going to be more challenging, but also more rewarding. And again, if I was a single man from doing the work that I've done, there's been a number of women whom, I wasn't always... I have to go back. I know I've always mentioned Sweet Lady the entire time because she's been here the whole time. And sometimes I've shared like the challenges we're having in our relationship, or how she's fed up with me doing this because of all the harassment. But, there's been a number of times that women out there have liked what I'm doing, and they've reached out to me and they've let me know they're interested in a relationship. And I've had to politely decline and say, I got a good Sweet Lady in my life. It's nothing against you, but, sorry, I'm taken. Again, if you're really into this, you could start doing more with this work and putting it out there. That could be a way to find somebody else in the world. There's another gentleman in this community who started doing just that, and he found a woman who, through his channel, and they're now married. So I know there's at least one marriage in this community from that exact scenario. So, that's one way you could do it if that's not the way you want to go about it. Again, just, going about things the normal way. I don't know what the normal way is anymore. Online dating's become a big thing, and I don't think online dating's bad. Before Sweet Lady, the relationship I was in, I met her through online dating. We had a nice relationship, but the problem with my last relationship before Sweet Lady, she was good, but she was almost just too basic and too simple. And Sweet Lady's an intellectual, which is what I like about her. She's very intelligent and thoughtful, and that's important to me. But for the Johns of the world, if you have in mind what you're looking for, you know what you're looking for. You just got to go out and put yourself out there and not be afraid of rejection. That's a huge thing with people. They're afraid of rejection, and that's inherent in all of us. You just got to overcome it, because you know what? If you got rejected, it might hurt in the moment. It might be disappointing. But I mean, there really are plenty of fish in the sea. And I'm pretty sure there's a dating website called Plenty of Fish. And it's really a great dating website name, because there's so many people in this world. And if you're like me, I mean, yeah, of course attraction's an important thing, but I mean, there's a lot of attractive people in the world. I'm loyal to Sweet Lady, but almost every time I go out in public, I see other attractive people. I mean, so again, there's plenty of people out there that you're likely attracted to, which means there's plenty of people to strike up a conversation with. I don't know if you heard what I said this morning in this morning stream, but yesterday when I was in the grocery store, there was a girl, and she wasn't bad looking, but she had these little booty shorts on that were just way too little. I mean, like literally like half of her ass was hanging out of her shorts. And, she might be the kind of girl you go back to her place and she's got the red light on above her bed too. That wouldn't have surprised me. But I just had to say to her as I walked by, I said, does your boyfriend let you wear those shorts? And she looked at me funny and she said, I don't have a boyfriend. And I said, well, you put on longer shorts, you might. And she might have thought I was flirting with her, but in a way I was also like trying to give her a tip. But maybe she doesn't want the tip. Maybe, like I said, she's just that girl and she's got the red light on back at home and she's just trying to pick up whoever at the store. But again, it really is just making conversation like that. And, it's like last year when I was out on the corner of Seattle, I had a girl come up and start flirting with me. I mean, that's putting yourself out there. And so, again, putting yourself out there, being willing to get rejected, having the confidence to say hello or just say something. I mean, if somebody strikes you, that you're in the gym, you're at the store, you're anywhere, and there's just something you want to say. I mean, don't be rude and mean. Some people might think what I said to that girl was rude and mean. I didn't think it was that way, and I didn't say it in a mean-spirited way. I just say I mean, come on, seriously, does half your ass have to be out in the store? It's like we're in the strip club. But yeah, and you know what? If you don't have that skill yet, you might be younger. As you get older, I can almost guarantee you your confidence will grow. It just seems like for most people, it's just part of getting older. You just become more comfortable in your own skin. You have more life experience. Like when I was younger, I could never ask the prettiest girls out. I was just like, it was just like, I was too intimidated by them. We used to call it putting them on the pedestal. I used to do that. But, I mean, ask the prettiest girl out, because almost everybody else is doing the same thing. And I noticed when I went down to Arizona State, when I started going to school there's so many attractive women at Arizona State. I just noticed there was a disproportionate ratio, and I couldn't believe the men that were holding hands with some of these girls. It was like Bob with bitch tits with a 20 out of 10 model. I was like, what is going on? But then I knew it. I was like, he had the courage to ask that girl out, even with those big bitch tits. And so, but again, you want you want a woman that's more than just attractive, because, attraction's important, sex is important. But at the end of the day, you need somebody that, that stimulates you, that you can have a conversation with, that you don't get bored of, that you're not like, oh my God, this person's so shallow. I almost want to say that's like the girl I was dating before I met Sweet Lady. She wasn't so shallow, but it was just like, do you remember the movie Step Brothers? That's like where her mind always was. She was a fun person, but it was just like, she didn't want to get any deeper than talking about a movie like Step Brothers. And in a way, that's fine, but, I need a little brainiac like Sweet Lady is. So, yeah, again, it is harder. It is harder to find the right person when you care about and you want to talk about things that are going on in this world, because just so many people don't. That's why they say the two things you don't talk about are politics and religion. And in a way, that kind of fits in with the whole truth thing. But, some people do want to talk about those things, and that's another thing. Like if you live in a bigger city where stuff's going on, think about attending places where there might be more people like that. Maybe hang out at bookstores, coffee shops. You go by the coffee shop, you see somebody who's reading a book that's interesting. You just say, "Oh, love that book," just strike up a conversation. But make sure you know what the book is. Don't just like, "Oh, I love that book," and then they're like, "Oh yeah," and then they're like, "Wait a minute, it doesn't sound like you ever read the book," So, be authentic and sincere, because if you're not, that's always, you might fool somebody for a day or two, but, the truth's going to come out, and if they find your phony baloney, that's not going to work either. But, yeah, John, I don't know exactly how old you are. And by the way, online dating, if you write a little thing with, maybe there's a little blurb in there about truth seeker or something. It might resonate with somebody. You just don't know. Just try everywhere you can. Try everywhere you can. Yeah, and then in terms of other relationships, I'm telling you, in 2013 when I found this, all of my friends just gravitated away from me. All but one. Him and I stayed buddies. He was interested in it, but when I moved out to Yakima, him and I haven't really kept up that much, living 3 hours apart. Every now and then we'll say hi. But yeah, I had a mass exodus of friends in 2013, and I was fed up with the world at that time. So I could have handled things different, but I was mad at everybody. I was so mad at everyone's ignorance and apathy, and no one caring about anything, and so. Yeah, there was, it wasn't just getting into something new. I probably did drive people away, and I'm not sure I did that by accident too. I kind of felt like I wanted to move on and do something bigger with my life in terms of at least trying to stop tyranny. I kind of felt like my old friends were keeping me away from that even being a possibility. So sometimes you do got to just say goodbye to old friends to move on and evolve as a human being. But at the same time, it is important to have friends, and especially people you've known for a long time. In a way, I wish I could get back all my old friends, because a lot of them I'd been friends with since I was in middle school. So, it's at the time, I was supposed to be a best man at my friend's wedding, and he's like, "You're not even invited to the wedding anymore." It's like, damn. But, you pursue new things, you'll also make new friends. So... And I feel like life's giving me a new opportunity in this neighborhood. All of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of guys around my age. We all got little babies coming in the world. I don't know if I told you, but my birthday, is July 21st. The guy who lives right here, his birthday is July 23rd. And the guy who lives right over here, his birthday is July 22nd. I'm like, what in the world? Our birthdays are all in consecutive days? He just had a little baby. He just had a little baby. We'll have one in a couple months. And so we have all these kids that are going to grow up around the same time, assuming we stay in the neighborhood. We're all kind of into sports. This guy who just moved in over here who has an older kid, he's about our age, but he has a kid who's older and out of the house. He wants us all to start riding bikes together, but then what I noticed about him is he's flaky on time. He'll be like, "Yeah, let's all ride at 5." And then you don't hear from him all night, and you're like, but then the next day he's on it. So, life ebbs and it flows, and it's funny. 2 of these guys know a little bit about what I do, and they find it interesting. But this guy over here, I haven't shared with him because he's such a big football fan. I don't want to break his heart. He just can't wait to see what the Chargers are going to do with Harbaugh. He's got Charger stuff all over the license plate. I don't know how he's going to take to this. So, again, you got to meet people where they are. And, yeah, but, family too. I was already the black sheep of the family, and now I've been the super black sheep. I don't get invited to any family gatherings anymore. I have not seen my outside. When I'm saying family gatherings, my mom's larger family. My dad's side of the family's always been kind of absent, but people on my mom's side of the family would invite us to gatherings for the holidays and stuff. I haven't heard from anybody since 2013. I don't even exist. And that's fine. It's fine. It'd be more ideal if I still saw them a little bit, but, it's also not the end of the world. So, you got to be true to yourself at the end of the day too, and sometimes that might cost you some relationships. But yeah, if you're true to yourself, I think you'll also find the right people in your life. Might make it more challenging, but I think you'll ultimately find the right people. So, all right. I honestly don't know if I have anything else to share. I mean, you guys can ask me questions. Maybe it'll make me think of something I should have said. But maybe you guys have stories too. Maybe the couple out there that came together that's married, maybe they're out there listening and want to phone in right now. I know they're overseas now. If they needed a link dropped in the chat to do the international way, I can drop the link. But there is a call-in number. And, well, we don't have anybody on hold right now. If you guys want to phone in, numbers on the screen. If you're international and want to drop in, but you don't want to call because you don't want to pay whatever the long distance rate is, I totally get that. So the link's in the chat. Our friend John, I don't see him right now. I know he requested this stream. He might catch it later. He could be at work. Somebody's like, could you talk about the KV exception ciphers? Well, that's a little bit different than, that's just applying numerology. So, it's the numerology cipher, but K is the 11th letter and V is the 22nd letter. In numerology, you don't have to reduce 11 or 22. So K can just be 11 rather than 2. 11 is 1 plus 1 is 2. So in the reduction cipher, K is 2, right? V, the 22nd letter, is 2 plus 2 is 4. But if you just observe the master numerology, K and V stay as 4, or not 4, they stay as 11 and 22. That's all it is. Okay? I wouldn't use that as a pickup line, though. Hey, baby, you heard of the KV exception? That's probably not going to get you too far, unless she's really into this community. So, all right. You're nervous to call in. Well, you know what? Do it anyway. See, you guys, being nervous, that's a normal thing too. Being nervous. You know what a good thing about going to school to be a teacher is? Most people don't like speaking in front of people. If you go to school to be a teacher, you just keep doing it until you just get over it, and then finally you're just comfortable doing it. There was a time when I spoke in front of people and I had like Elvis knees. You know what I mean? Like my knees would be all jittery and I'd be like, oh my God. And sometimes, I mean, even though you've spoken in people in front of 1,000 times, you still get nervous sometimes, but it goes away faster. It's just like I hadn't spoken in a while in front of people when I spoke in Portland, and I don't know if I'll have to go back and look at the video if it showed up, but my hand was a little bit jittery when I first started speaking in Portland. It only lasted like, I don't know, it seems like longer when you're nervous, but it probably lasted a minute. It might have lasted 2 minutes, but I could feel that my hand was a little bit jittery. So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, you guys. We have these things that are uncomfortable, right? A lot of them don't like being uncomfortable. And sometimes that's a good thing. Like, there's reasons we don't like being uncomfortable, but sometimes you have to do things that are uncomfortable to improve yourself. Like, sometimes you got to go out and embarrass yourself. Working out. I think that's the real reason my dad doesn't like working out, because then he gets sore afterwards. He doesn't like feeling sore. But really, that soreness is your body rebuilding, getting stronger. I remember in high school, I actually wasn't that bad at speaking in front of the class, but then I had this one class with the prettiest girl in school, and I remember I got super nervous, because I was like, oh my God, what's she going to think about me? I secretly had a crush on her, but I'd never ask her out, because I put her out on the pedestal, and then I allowed that to get in my head and make myself like even more nervous than ever, just having to present with her in there. I mean, you look back at those things, and it's like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people relate with this, but the way you get over it is by just doing it. You just keep doing it until you get over it. You know what I mean? So, it might seem punishing in the moment, but no one's going to judge you for it. Almost everyone's going to relate with it at the end of the day. Almost everyone's going to relate with it, because almost everyone's the same way. And then eventually, if you do it enough, you'll be better off for it. All right, let's go out to 225. What's up, 225?
Hey, how you doing, Zach?
Doing well. Chat, can you guys let me know if his audio is good? Go ahead.
Yeah, quick question. It was a couple of, well, I think in the 80s, I know you said how everything is connected, and I found out Terry Bradshaw actually came back home to have surgery on his shoulder or elbow or whatever it was, and he didn't want anyone to know that it was him. He used the name Thomas Brady as as his name, so he didn't want anybody to know that it was actually him having the surgery. And I just find that interesting.
I find that interesting too. And when I think of Terry Bradshaw, I actually think about right after 9/11 because I remember it was just that's part of the reason I just had to turn off the TV all the way. I couldn't even watch the football game without Terry Bradshaw in the commercial breaks demonizing people questioning 9/11, calling them whack job conspiracy theorists. I was like, see, look at the societal programming everywhere. I'll forever hate Terry Bradshaw because of that. Because if you guys could go back to after 9/11, that's what Terry Bradshaw was doing almost every week. Because people were questioning 9/11, not a lot, but there are people like Terry Bradshaw on TV demonizing him. And again, of course, Tom Brady and the Patriots took over the world that time with 9/11 and the Patriot Act. And here, lo and behold, this guy was using the alias Tom Brady. That's what I mean, born and bred to be.
Yeah. All right, Dave. That's why I was calling in just to let you know. I found that information out, and I found that very odd. Both of them was TB12.
Yeah.
Same number.
Yeah.
Yep.
I never knew that, so I appreciate that. I'm going to look that one up. I won't forget it. Thank you.
All right, man. Have a good one.
I mean, hey, you're into trivia. You might impress the ladies at the trivia bar some night if you got intel like that. Let's go out to 617. What's up, 617?
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I just called because thinking about the topic, it is very difficult to share with people the truth because there are so many lies out there. When you try to dispel one truth, there's another lie in there that messes up the truth. So, for example, when you talk to people about how many years we were supposedly had slavery here in this country, they say, 400 years, but the country is only 280 years, or not even. So it's just so hard because Americans don't know a lot.
Sure. History is not a strong suit for most people.
To say. It's just hard.
Sure. About the 400 years, though, I mean, European settlers have been here for more than 400 years now.
Right, but they say we were enslaved as brown people for black people or indigenous people for 400 years, but the country is only 200 years.
The first slave ship, the first slave ship that arrived in America was, if I'm not mistaken, August 20th, 1619. So the 400th anniversary of the first slave ship coming to this land was that long ago. The slavery predates the country.
Right, but not necessarily that it was who we think was enslaved.
Oh, sure.
The history of America is written by the people who are in charge, so we know that they write the history to slant them. And so we weren't all slaves. We weren't.
I agree with that.
That's the narrative that we have.
I agree with that. Like I always say, the NFL doing all their rituals, the only black quarterbacks to win Super Bowls have all played on the native teams. I think they're trying to tell you something. So.
Right. We are the indigenous people. We were here, and there's a history that has not been told, and we don't know it. And so when you try to dispel the myths or the witchcraft that we're under or the numerology that is guiding us, it's very difficult because there's just an underlying where they don't have an understanding of the history of America to know when something is false. So I just thank you for continuing to be positive, get the information out, and to keep trying because you are building a community. I've learned so much from what you're doing, and those who will listen have learned from what I've said, and it trickles down, Jackson. Be encouraged. What you're doing is important.
Well, I appreciate that. You're very welcome.
Thank you. All right, have a good night.
Yeah, take care. All right. I'm tripping out right now because I keep moving the volume bar to the max, and I'm watching it adjust on its own and go down. And Does anyone know how to stop this on a Mac? This is one of the things I hate the most about Mac, the sound settings, how they just like move themselves. Why don't they just stay where I leave them? Like literally every time I restart the computer, I have to adjust all the sound settings. But I've never watched this in my life. It is like literally going down, 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 down. I'm like, what in the world? Like, what? Can it just go up? I just kept it up. All right, we're gonna try that and see how it works out. Switch one other thing. Well, so far we don't have a lot of calls on this subject. My mom says it's loud now. Well, LSU was 2020. We've lost a lot of channels since then. I'm pretty sure if you search Zachary K. Hubbard LSU campus, somebody has a video up that still remains. If I remember right, it's me talking to two of the security guards there who are super interested in what we're sharing, and they're asking some good questions. But yeah, I'd have to go through my what I got saved on my external hard drive, re-upload. That's the downside of having your channel deleted 20 sometimes. I mean, can I swiftly explain something I talk about all the time? I'm sure you've heard me say it before. So, all right. Well, I was hoping John would be here. This was John's requested stream. I was thinking John might have some good questions for us. But yeah, again, in terms of like, if it's important to you to preserve your relationships and, be a truth seeker and truth speaker, it can be a fine line to walk. But, like at times with Sweet Lady, I just, we just got to switch the subject because sometimes she's just not in the mood for it. But as time's gone on, though, she's become more and more of a numbers person. She is just 1,000,000% sold on giving our little girl the middle name 11. She's just really into it. She's like, it's perfect. We've been together 11 years. The baby's going to be born in the 11th month. She's certain that the child's going to be born on 11/11. She's like trying to manifest that. We'll see. We'll see. But and I think she also does like the little girl from Stranger Things, the powerful girl. So yeah, so Sweet Lady's become more of a numbers person. She's she definitely argues with me a lot less than she did years ago. She's been convinced of the relevance of the work. And I mean, that's the thing too. You stay consistent with something. You don't push people too hard, but every now and then you just lay down a little bit more. More and more they come around. We did a live stream last week, and a woman called in and said her boyfriend forced her to watch my videos. I thought, oh, that doesn't sound right. But then she said now she likes the videos. At first she didn't. So it's the thing too. If you have enough in common with somebody, there might be some things that are problems in the relationship or problematic areas or things that you wish were different. As time goes on, those things might correct themselves. You might see more eye to eye. So, that before Sweet Lady, I had never been in a relationship for the longest relationship I'd been in for before Sweet Lady was almost 3 years. And then I told you guys about the one relationship that I knew I should have got out of almost right away, and I ended up staying in it for almost 2 years. That was a big mistake. I did that out of sympathy for them. You shouldn't do that. I mean, it's important to be nice and care about other people, but if like the real reason that you're staying in the relationship is because you feel bad for them, that's probably not going to last. And then you're probably going to have a bunch of regrets like I did. So again, I told that story last week and how it ended with a big expensive cat bill, which was the final straw because that bill should have never happened. It was because that person was out of their mind. Yeah, so I see your comment about my rants. Some people like my rants, and some people really don't. So, and that's the thing too. That's a reminder you can't please everyone. You know, you might be in one relationship where person can't stand that about you, and then next relationship you're in, that's their favorite quality about you. So, and by the way, just younger people, like a lot of younger people, try to fake it to make it in relationships. They think they gotta, you know, trying to be something they aren't. If you're doing that, that relationship is just never going to work out. And I imagine people do that because really they just want to be with that person because they're attracted to them. Um, Again, it's important to know who you are and the things that are important to you, and then find people that have some of those key qualities. I mean, if you can find all of them, that'd be like a miracle. But it's like Sweet Lady. She checked some big boxes for me. She was intelligent. I'm not used to women being funny. I've never thought like, oh, I want a funny woman. But I know she was funny. I was like, oh, this person's funny. It's a nice quality. But she was very intelligent. I've always been attracted to her. Super direct, which I actually like. I never met a woman as direct as a Sweet Lady. Just like most people would probably think too direct. I can see a lot of guys wouldn't like Sweet Lady for how direct she is. But to me, I like it because I'm like, I'll always know what she thinks. I'll always know exactly what she thinks. Works for me. And just stupid things too. Like the second time we went on a date, she looked at me and she goes, "I think you're slow. I bet I could beat you in a race." I was like, "What?" She's like, "I want to race you." I was like, "What?" I'd never been challenged to a race by a woman. I mean, it sounded crazy, but in a way, I liked it. I was like, "This person out of their mind." And then I have a feeling that had I lost that race, she probably would have thought like, "Oh, what a loser guy." But for the record, I smoked her. It wasn't even close, and she was like impressed by how fast I was. And but I just never met. I was like, what? Who is this person? Like, what? Who challenges a dude to a race? She's 5 foot nothing. I mean, could she have possibly thought she was going to win? But I don't know. She just had all these little charming qualities, and again, she was just intelligent and funny, and I can't lie either. Like something that always bothered me when I was younger in Seattle. Seattle's a very international city, and just like the women that these guys will be in town from like the UK, and they're just swooning over these guys because they have these British accents. I'd be like, God, can't you tell those guys are total douchebags just because they got some stupid accent? But you know what? I guess accents can be nice because Sweet Lady's got a funny little accent too, and I can't lie. I like that about her also. So. Anyway, what are you going to do? All right, we got another caller. Step right up, 770. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going, Zach? I just wanted to call in and say, hey, maybe expand on what you're saying a little bit. I think you're really nailing you're really hitting it home, though. I think that's all good points about relationships. And for me, it's not so much about like truth and political opinions and how much you're aligned with somebody like that way mentally, but yeah, it's the big boxes that you need checked, and I think you really hit a home run on that statement. Because it's the little things that matter, and like your significant other should be almost like a break from your life. Like you carry the weight of all the knowledge, day to day, but your significant other's there for you guys to kind of relax and to live the life together that you choose. But you got to pick and choose accordingly, of course. But yeah, just a little advice to anybody out there. It's not always about every little agreement as far as like your view on the world, but as long as you guys can tolerate each other and have a good vibe and live good life and take care of each other, I think that's what's most important. Those big boxes, like you said. That's just my 2 cents. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing all right, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, you got to have the things that and maybe when you're younger, you don't even know what you want. I mean, sometimes you just kind of have experiences and date people and start to realize like, oh, this is important to me. Oh, wait a minute, I don't like this, and that's a life experience thing.
Trial and error.
Right, like anything.
A lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
And So you got to use your younger years accordingly and figure out what it is that you like and what you need. And when I first started getting into like truth and some of your content, it was in like the COVID times, like 2020. And, that really hit a lot of, I don't know, it just kind of changed a lot of my perspective on things. And it definitely affected relationships, but it also strengthened a few. And see, once you find the right people who can get on the same page, you end up, meeting some of the closest friends and sometimes girlfriends that you'll ever have, So you just got to be true to yourself and do what you love to do. And don't be afraid to, speak your mind around people, and you might make some good friends, and that's important. Friends have connections, you need good people around you who understand. So
Yeah.
That's a big part of the whole.
Absolutely. I mean, because as human beings, we are social in nature. And yeah, some of us also need alone time and time to ourselves sometimes. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, most of us would rather have like some good friends, a good companion, a good relationship. All things good and bad, but I do think we're healthier when we have good relationships.
Yeah, we need a community, even if it's just a small circle of 2 or 3 people who you can talk to. But that's very important. That kind of stuff can save your life. But, you just got to be smart and find other smart people who really understand and care about you. And things will fall into place if you just keep your head up and, keep being outgoing. Being outgoing is a big part of it as well. I'm a musician, and as soon as I learned all this knowledge back in the day, it really changed the way I played my music and approached my music too. And so I do it more for like a community type of thing and a communal effort more than like chasing fame and money and, Instagram, all this and that crap. But there's just a lot of different ways to do it and attack your life. You can find some good people out here. And I think I just wanted to share that. And I don't want to take up too much time, but.
About music, young people, you're looking for a hobby. I wish I would have spent a better part of my younger life learning an instrument. I mean, there's still time to learn. I was actually starting to learn a guitar a little bit when my house got robbed and then the guitar got stolen, which was a major bummer. But, again, music, I think that's another good way to make relationships. So everybody likes music.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy playing guitar and piano, and I've met a lot of really good friends. And the thing about musicians, especially for like us younger people, like in the age of social media, you'll run into a guitar player, a bass player, some singer songwriter, and they've got some real, crazy material. They're trying to. A lot of musicians are kind of like truth seekers in a way, They through their songwriting, they might not ever make it to the mainstream or anything, or they might be suppressed a bit, but you can find them and they're out there screaming into microphones and playing their guitars, and you can join in on that. That's a very good stress reliever. And guess what? Girls love that too. So
yeah,
there's different ways to attack it.
Indeed. And you learn to play an instrument. I mean, you go on Craigslist, there's always bands looking for members. So it's also a way to potentially make community and make new friends. And it's just a good hobby, good skill to have. So I know when we got a little girl, I'm going to encourage her to pick up an instrument. No doubt about it.
Yeah, piano's a good place to start, in my opinion, Zach. But guitar is a great second,
Guitar's a lot more feasible. I mean, piano lessons, you got to go somewhere. It's hard to fit a piano in a lot of houses, but almost anybody can pick up a guitar. Piano is awesome, though. I agree.
True.
Keyboard, I guess. You can get a keyboard in the house. So
a keyboard, to understand the music theory aspect of it, at least for me, I translated a lot of my piano knowledge to guitar. But yeah. That's how it works for me. But guitar is a great option. Mm-hmm. It's good for your brain, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Zach. Well, I'm going to sign off.
All right.
Keep doing your thing, man.
All right. Appreciate the call. My mom in the chat, she's out there. Hi, Mom. My mom said that when I was a kid, they got me a horn. Now, that is true. But here, I want to actually, let's go back to that story because, see, what I wanted was a saxophone. I said I wanted to learn to play the saxophone. Why did my dad not pick up a saxophone? Because we're broke. and it was way cheaper to rent a cornet. And you know what? I wasn't super mad about it. I was like, fine, I'll learn to play the cornet. But then, here's what ruined it. I still remember our music teacher, Mr. Davies. Total asshole. Total asshole. Just had no business working with kids. Just total asshole. I mean, he just ruined the whole experience. It was just like, just a mean guy. And so I was like, okay, I don't even have the right instrument. And now I got to put up with Mr. Davies. I'm done. I can swing a baseball bat. And that was pretty much it for music. It was 2 strikes. Pops didn't pick up what I asked for, and Mr. Davies killed the other part of it. So, yeah. You know, Mr. Davies, he was an old man. I'm sure he's dead now. Hey, John, this stream is for you. Welcome to the chat, buddy. By the way, make sure you don't send a super chat. I don't want any more super chats from John Mendoza because he sent too many. Save them for a lady and get her some flowers or take her out on a date. My neighbor needs help right now, you guys, and I got to start making dinner in 10 minutes anyway. So I got to go help the neighbor. Be good to your neighbors. Even if you have a bad neighbor who robs your house, don't take it out on the rest of your neighbors. But yeah, my dad, man, he just can't resist a sale. Woo! All right, we got to leave it there for now, you guys. We got to leave it there for now. Yeah, maybe we can do another one of these. Hold on, let me make sure nobody else was on hold real quick. Hold on, we got one more person on hold. I can't take any more calls after this. My neighbor just texted me and asked for your help. I said I'll be over in a second. 971, what's up?
Hey, Zach, this really hits home for me because, I quit drinking like 15 years ago, and like I lost a whole bunch of friends during that, and I was surprised that I did because I thought we were like really tight. And then it's just been a series, and so like I realized a lot of people liked being around me when I was drunk and crazy because I made them feel better about themselves. But then I like turned from like a muse of these people to like Debbie Downer on steroids, because I feel like that's kind of what truthing appears to the normies as. Like you're just like, well, let's talk about Jesus, let's talk about Santa. Like we kind of put a damper on all the programming. So like I just lost another friend just recently because of cultural programming, because I wouldn't go along with the whole like social justice bullshit. So anyways, I don't know, like I have some resentment, but overall I think I'm a happier person, and my cats are pretty cool.
Yeah. Pets can definitely be good companions.
No. I mean, I'm sure it's a little dysfunctional, but I just feel like overall, like people lack a lot of intelligence and critical thinking, and like the truthing community online was really kind of like a joke for me. I know other people I've heard, echo great things about developing good connections, but either they were fed, or they were bought, or whatever. But I just haven't really like cultivated, and maybe my own character defects, but like a strong connection, after 2020 with like, let's just say the unjabbed. I mean, it's cool, I don't really, obviously connect with those that did go along with it, but I also haven't really like felt a really strong connection to those that decided not to go along with it either. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just kind of like in limbo about that. But thank God I love nature, and I have, a little bit of free time and money, which is a blessing. So I'm kind of happy, or I am, happy and grateful. I just don't have people in my life, which is why I'm calling into a talk show on YouTube.
Well, I imagine people will come back. I imagine people will come back, just like I've been kind of on a hiatus for years without really having any friends, and now seemingly where I've moved to, it seems like maybe I might get some friends just from the neighborhood. So
right on. Yeah, I mean, I'm cool, and I go on adventures. I'm going to go up to Wisconsin here in a little bit, and it looks like there's a whole bunch of hippies that like live up in Wisconsin. So I might make some casual friends up there. But I don't know. I just kind of think I just go back to Debbie Downer, and I do, and I feel like I laugh about it, but I just see it with my cousins or just different people I've talked with, and I'm sure you guys can, those listening can relate to it. Like, kind of like, bust these paradigms, of what a lot of people believe. And they kind of, they don't, what's the saying? Don't kill the messenger, and a lot of times they want to. And, there's another saying that's like, if you tell them the truth, make sure you make them laugh or they'll kill you. And that really resonates with me too. So yeah, I don't know. That's that.
Yeah, if you're a fun person, if you can bring the comedy angle, you'll definitely have more people around you. You will be a people magnet. So,
right. So I have dark humor, which I guess I share that with the cabal or whatever you want to call them.
Well, a lot of people like dark humor. A lot of people like dark humor. Yeah. So I think what you're just talking about with your trip, I think that's a good move. So.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it. So as long as I don't get into car accidents. And didn't you have a car accident wasn't it coming up here on the 2-year anniversary? You and I both had car accidents in 2022, if I recall right.
It wasn't me who got in the wreck. It was like everyone who was around me. It was weird. So.
Oh, okay. And then also you got jacked by your neighbor too. I didn't even you have a lot of connections on just weird little things. I got jacked by my neighbor too in 2017. I didn't realize you got jacked by a neighbor. I thought it was I didn't know it was a neighbor of yours.
Yeah, the neighbor. It was the neighbor. So
those neighbors. Well, now I have a good 8-year-old neighbor. But anyways, I'm rambling at this point. So cool. Well, I appreciate this topic, and I love numbers, and I'm glad that you are shedding light on them. So
all right.
go do your thing and help your neighbor.
Indeed. Well, I appreciate your call. And again, I hope you have a great trip and you get all you want out of it and more. So thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Doc. Okay, take care.
All right, you take care. All right. I said I wasn't going to take any more calls, but I swear this is the last one, then I have to go. All right, 470. You're going to take us out of here.
Hey, Zach. I wanted to ask you, do you, when you first, met your lady and everything, did conversations ever start off as maybe generic stuff oh, who's your favorite politician, or who's your favorite musician or artist, or football team? Most conversations that aren't really real in a sense, talking about things that, with your knowledge and everything, and how everything is rigged, and how everything's already been manipulated to the point where it's we're living in a false reality, and everything is already made to, deceive us. Have you ever just, in your relationship in the beginning, and probably still now, there's certain things that you might, not want to talk about, or you feel like you're kind of wasting your time and your energy, even talking about it, instead of talking about real things, things that actually matters to us, these, ritualistic murders, and these weather catastrophic things that go on, and how it's all being used by HARP and everything, all these things that have that should have our attention, but no, we're constantly being distracted by who you're voting for, or who's your favorite hockey team, and how many points they scored, or what's on TikTok, what's on Instagram, how some people, that's basically all they really want to talk about, or majority of the conversations revolves around that, and nothing really that has anything of substance to help all of us get to a place where we know who the enemy is and try to stop them. It's that's really my problem involving relationships, trying to find someone that isn't so in tune with just the bullshit, but is willing to talk about things that actually matter and not feel so awkward about it.
I hear what you're saying. So I can tell you don't want to have any kind of just pointless trivial conversations. You want to talk about the issues of the day. I mean, most people, when you're getting to know each other, you're not just jumping right into that conversation on day one, unless you're getting together. There was when I lived in Seattle, it was a Tuesday night thing, and it was at a bar locally, and it was to talk political issues. And there was a woman there who was a little bit older than me, and she was just a little bit too old for me, but her and I would have good conversations. And when I'd go to this group, I'd end up talking to her the most. And so, I mean, you could meet somebody that way who's just ready to jump into important conversations, but I think you got to be at the right setting for that. Like I said, I don't know if you're in a big city or not. If you're in a bigger city, there are things like that. But on your typical first date, I mean, if you jump into conversations like that, you know. And the other thing is the other reality is I think, like, it's not true of all women, but I think more often than not, most women might be more apprehensive to have conversations like that, from my experience. So yeah, I think if you're looking for somebody who's serious business that wants to talk about things and make change, you got to go to the right type of gathering spot for that, or go scour the library and see if there's a woman in there reading the right book. Be like, hey, I got to talk to you about that book, and just strike up the conversation right there. So,
Yeah, I hear you. And for me, I've noticed, and I'm pretty sure you noticed as well, that the main thing that I guess society, especially social media, uses is they feed off of like as a person, your insecurities. So you know how females, majority of them are, they care more about their looks and how they view themselves and stuff. So majority of like those like manipulative tactics that they use, it really starts like causing problems, and even trying to like talk to a female about anything more than just the things that she finds is important to her, like talking about just involving the wars that go on, and the problems that later on in our lives we're going to be facing, probably not our generation but many of generations to come. And how for me, I've just realized that the majority of them like to stick on this specific type way of thinking of just like the smallest things, and like not thinking about them on a more major scale. Like involving, that's why I feel like majority of like world leaders, and of course who controls everything, the Pope and the Catholic Church, that there has not ever been a woman that has been the Pope. And I know you said that there has been like a quote unquote myth of that happening, but even the rulers that have ruled empires since the beginning of time, they've realized that women don't have like the capability or understanding to be able to be in a certain position of power, and like it's never been like anything that's been like given to them off of just, I guess, being a woman in a sense. And it's always been involving, a man's position. And maybe that might be the reason why, because it's just they don't have that desire or even want to comprehend or understand the seriousness of certain situations. And sometimes they can get a little bit more emotional and not, fully invest the time to know how to fix problems, and not, just be distracted by the smallest things. Oh, this person said this about me, or that person said that about me. Like, I feel like as men, we have a better understanding that just because I don't like you or you don't like me, we can still be cool. We can still be, we can still get shit done, at the end of the day. And I feel like a lot of females they can't comprehend that to the point of like actually understanding, like it doesn't have to be any back and forth, this or that, and anything. If we need to work together, we need to work together to get something done. And yeah, personally, I feel like that's mainly one of my problems, is that they want to like mostly talk about things that don't matter, and then when it comes to actual like serious things or serious topics or, you know, situations that are going on in relationships, friendships or whatever, it's not always like the best way to do it and to solve the problems and to fix it. And I don't know, man. Maybe I get a little bit too deep in it or whatever. But I just know for me and the knowledge that I've learned from this, it's like now I see why in society men have more to offer and have pushed society in a more, you know, because it's, you know, you got good and bad of everything, but it has pushed us to more of a sustainable way of living. Because if it was for a female doing it, then she would be a lot more emotional driven than actual men that have a mission and a vision of how they want society to go and stuff. And that's just kind of how I feel like. And then involving marriage and stuff, it's like, you know, how do you feel about that? Like, you know, I know you're married and stuff like that, but like the benefits, like how do you feel about, you know, is it worth it, or, you know, how's it?
Well, it's only worth it if you know you found somebody who's worth it, and that's who you want to keep in your life. All things are good and bad. I mean, if I was a single guy, there'd be positives to that too. It would be, you know, I wouldn't have had to cancel my trip to DC the other year, and I'd probably be in New York on 9/11 every year. I mean, that there's good and bad to all things, but at the same time, the thing that I could say is good is, you know, she gives me balance. There's been a lot of people who've come on the tube and shared information and they burn out and they're here and do a good work for a year, 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. And then they just burn out. They just like, you know, they've had enough. They give up. But I feel like sweet lady, she keeps my life balanced, and I do continue to push and do the work, and she supports me in that. But then in the last few years, you know, I'm not grinding through the night like I used to. I'm spending more time with her. Some people might say that's not as good of a thing because I was putting out more work, but at the same time, again, I'm just trying to say, sweet lady to me is somebody I want in my life. She makes me happier. Everything's not perfect. Nothing's perfect, but I know that I'm happier with her in my life than without. And again, if you meet somebody like that and that's the way you feel, then that would be the reason that you would, you know, do what you got to do to keep the relationship. And for people who've been a lot around the whole time, you know, that's something kind of changed about me. In 2013, her and I were together when I first started doing the work. And I was saying back then, you know, I always talk highly of sweet lady, but I said back then, I was saying, I'm not sure that we're ever going to get married because I don't really believe in the institution of marriage. And to be perfectly honest, I still have a lot of things that I don't like about it. I feel like it's kind of something the state wants, but it was something that was important to her. So sometimes in a relationship, you got to make compromise. The marriage thing was an important thing to her and her family, and I understood that. And I don't think she would have left me if we didn't get married, but it just made her happier. So some people say that like they don't ever want to compromise themselves. I think when you're in a relationship, you got to make compromises. So if these are all things to think about. But yeah, I don't think you'll ever see me and sweet lady having a falling out. I don't think like it'll be 10 years from now and her and I are divorced. I don't think you're ever going to see that. I mean, her and I we have very similar minds and goals. Obviously, she's not as into my work as I am, but she's come around to it a lot more as the years have gone on, and she's more interested in it. And sometimes we talk about it. But and again, what you're saying about just like men being more about the things, I mean, that is true. That's like my channel demographics have always been the same. 80% of the people who watch my channel from the time I've been here, according to demographics, up to now have always been men. But still, 20% are women, which means there are women that are into these things. They might be harder to find, but they're out there. And it's just like I was saying earlier, if you want to find these women, you got to put yourself out there and put yourself in the spot. You know, it's just like fishing, right? Like if you're really into, let's just say, rainbow trout, you can't go fish in the river where there's no rainbow trout at. You got to go to where the rainbow trout are. So, you know, yeah. I do got to hop off though, but I appreciate the call, 470. Thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you, and you have a good rest of your evening.
Yeah, you too. All right, and 647. I said I wasn't going to take any more calls. Seriously, I need to get off because you got to do it in 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Nobody else call in, please. 647, 30 seconds. We'll do another stream and you can call back in longer. What's up, 647?
What's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up? Morpheus of Gematria. Okay, there's a Kabbalist Gematria method called the Notarikon, Notarikon. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but it's Kabbalist. And it's used by taking the initials of the first and final letters to form a sentence or an idea.
Here, let's do this later. This isn't even the topic right now. This isn't even the topic right now, but I am curious. Next stream, I'm doing lots of call-in shows. I got to get off. Okay, yeah. I mean, just totally different topic. When I said I have to get off, I almost feel like he's trolling. Yeah, and John Mendoza, yeah, leave a comment if I didn't cover something. We can do another stream on this topic if you got a question. I was hoping we'd hear from you. So anyhow, and thank you, Dante Reed. I appreciate it. And to the rest of you guys, have a great rest of your day. Thank you as always for supporting the work. Thank you for hitting the like and the share. And until next time.